Okay, I sometimes feel like a dinosaur. Like I came from another planet, from outer space, because the world is so much different today. When I was a young man, we had well, the big thing was to have a radio, and not everybody had a radio. I remember at the beginning of World War II, President Roosevelt came on the radio. We didn't have television, and he says, "December 7th, a day that'll live in infamy," and we all knew that. And of course, we did have movies and newsreels and that sort of thing. But that's not where I'm going today. Where I'm going today is back in my day when I went to school. We learned poetry. And we learned poetry because it was good language and it was good thinking. And it was things that somebody else had already thought through, and it was things that would cause your life and your thinking processes to be better because other people had tried them and they had worked. So anyhow, I wasn't always a great believer in poetry. Matter of fact, I kind of thought it was dumb. Until a certain point in my life, I'm sitting there in uh, my English literature class in high school. You know, the great big important Bud Steers that knew everything. He thought he knew everything.
Still does.
And so anyhow, I'm sitting there just kind of looking out the window and wanting to be outside where it was springtime and or the weather was nice that day, and I'm sitting next to the window, and Jane F., who taught school with his wife, Stella Booth, that had a peg leg, and of course we called her peg leg, and you know, all the things that us dumb high school students do. But anyhow, so he comes back there and he says, "Steers, what are you doing?" And I says, "I'm just looking at this dumb poetry." He says, "What's dumb about it?" And I says, "Well, it's just dumb." And he says, "Well, why don't you show me a dumb poem?" So I thumbed through the things that were available to us in the class that we were studying, and I said, "Oh, well, this one right here." He says, "Well, okay, well, how does it go?" And I says, "Well, it's in Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row and row that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. But if you leave fate with us who die, we shall not sleep though flowers blow in Flanders field, though poppies grow in Flanders field." So anyhow, he says, "Okay, well, what's so dumb about it?" And I says, "Everything."
Well, had you read it to him, or were you just quoting it?
I think I kind of read it to him. But anyhow, he says, "Okay, Steers," he says, "right now," he says, "you're getting a failing grade in this class." And he says, "In order to graduate," he says, "you're going to have to have this class. You know, you've got to have literature and English literature." And he says, "I'll make you a deal." He says, "If you can change one word in that poem and make it better," he says, "I'll give you an A and you don't have to come to class again." He says, "But if you can't," he says, "you're going to take the grade that you deserve, and you're going to come to class every day, or you're going to get failing. And you know why you don't want to fail is because you won't graduate if you don't get this class." So I says, "That's the deal. How long do I have?" He says, "Well, how long do you want?" And I says, "Well, this is Monday." I says, "How about Friday?" He says, "That's the deal." So anyhow, I went to work on it every day. I first kind of, yeah, piece of cake. So I kept reading that poem until it was emblazoned in my mind, even to this day. I couldn't find any place to insert a word. I couldn't find anything that I wanted to change about it. And then I found out that it was a world famous poem, that it was about World War I. And the people of Canada, that was like a national anthem to them. Oh, can we stop?
No, just keep going.
Okay, so anyhow, we keep going. So anyhow, I finished out the class, and I think I managed a C out of the class. And I came up with such things as the shortest poem that was ever written. I'm a rhyming poet person.
You know, they actually have one. It's a letter.
Yeah.
If you look up the shortest poem on Google, it's like a letter, and there's something behind it. But
well, okay.
What a wise teacher.
Okay, so anyhow,
he taught you well.
We had teachers of that caliber. So anyhow, I came to the place of the shortest rhyming poem that we knew at that time was an ode to the antiquity of microbes. kind of a long title, but the poem is a rhyming poem, and it goes like this: Adam had 'em. So anyhow, I became quite a I just loved poetry, especially rhyming poetry, because it has meter and rhythm and making them rhyme sensibly, not just because roses are red, violets are blue. If I had your face, I'd be in the zoo. Okay, that's fine, but I mean real poetry.